you doing? All my Ifa Ela family out there. How is the week been? We give honor to life that gathered us here today to communicate to one another in Ifa Ela Ministry way. Alafia. Ifa Ela Ministry aim is to bridge the gap between man and God, meaning between man and woman. A gap between us as people is not going to help us to elevate one another. On that note, it is clear that it is love, real love, that is going to remove the gap between man and woman. As a result, it will be clear to every one of us that the world is our world. As the world is looking after us, we should look after our world as well, without compromise. Last week, we talked about time factor and talent factor. And we kind of related that to how important it is for us to realize that our talent is another name for saying God that is in us, our inner God, our inner man. Talent is just another name for inner man, for inner God. And I mentioned that the center point there is your talent. God put it there to protect you, to lift you up. And it is your responsibility as well to know that you must develop a character of lifting your talent up and protecting your talent, because it goes both ways. This week, what we're going to be talking about involves fear. When it came to the surface, that it's important that I speak to us about fear. Today, I started to look at fear from my own personal experience of fear. And the instruction, the teaching that Ifa Ela Ministry is teaching me about fear as well. So let's look at it from my own experience of fear for a minute. I think I'll say that I'm just like everyone else when it comes to fear, because when I was a child, particularly, I'm still a child by the way, but just for the purpose of the conversation, when I was a child, I used to be afraid of just about everything. I used to be afraid of lizard, darkness. I just mean it in my life. I don't even really take to darkness, because when you realize the God that is in you and light setting in your life, you don't think about darkness or anything like that anymore. So I said that just for the purpose of this conversation. So I used to be afraid of darkness and frogs and worms, things like that, just about everything. But the worst of it was darkness, like really bad. It's like a phobia kind of a thing. I wouldn't want to walk past a place where there's no light. When I was growing up, I wouldn't. And I wouldn't even want to look. If I'm passing by a place and it is kind of dark, I'll make it my business not to look at that part. I just wouldn't look. And one day I thought, okay, today I'm going to look. You know, Africa, you have, especially at night, not particularly everywhere, there's light. There's light, of course. Africa is light. But when it comes to electricity light, not every place have electricity light. That time, today, yeah, because they take it, the light will go off and on like that. So when light is not on, obviously everywhere it is dark. So, and even when the light is on, some places they don't, maybe they haven't paid the electricity or the light is just something. So, and you're walking past that part, that side or that particular point will not have light. So, and you have to pass by that spot. And if I'm passing by that spot when I was, you know, going out there, I'm not gonna look at that side just because it's dark. And one day I decided to look. The drama that I can't talk about it here. Crazy. Anyways, so everybody is afraid of something. How do we approach fear today? How do we address the word fear today? Is fear real? Fear is real. Fear is definitely real. However, what is more real is how you handle your fear. It's one thing how you don't even know how to handle fear when you're a child. It gets to a stage in your life, you have to put childish things away. You have to face your fear. It is not even a choice. You have to face your fear. Anyhow that you have to find a way to face your fear. For me, I would say when now, it's been a while now that I just like everybody, I had to face my fear without even thinking about it. That is real for me. Because if you think too much about your fear, and you won't get to do anything in this world. You won't get to do anything. So for me, when I was a child, that was it. So I got into a space in my life. It's been quite a long time now. I didn't even have enough time to think about fear. I just go about living my life in spite of whatever it is that is going on. And yeah, one has come across plenty of what was seemingly maybe a barrier, because somebody put that barrier there. I don't really, after I put childish things away, I don't really have time to entertain fear. So what I'm saying in that respect is that don't pretend that you're not afraid. The same token, stay ready to handle your fear, to conquer your fear. And how do you conquer your fear? Just by not staying afraid. Just live your life. Because one thing that I come to have clarity about when it concerns fear, it's like it's a part of life. It shouldn't have to be a big deal. Now we know that fear comes. We know that fear comes in a variety of ways. For some people, is a fear of not having confidence to do things or to go places or to start a new journey or a new adventure, or the chronic aspect of fear, when you just have a phobia about something. Other people might even think is silly, but to you is real. And another variety of fear is that you yourself made up that fear. It's not, the fear is not really there. You made it up. And another type of fear is the one that somebody else actually puts there, just so you'll be afraid and you will not step out of boundary. So if you know your own boundary, this is why one of the key to life is to know your own inner person, your own inner God, your own inner lights. Because as we all love to talk about inner God, inner lights, that might mean different thing to somebody else. Everybody's inner God, inner lights, it's possible that it is different. So it is very clear, in spite of all types of religions in the world, you have to find a way, a clear way, that you'll be able to connect with your own inner God, inner man, inner person. That is strictly between you and God. There should not be anybody else involved. And if there's anybody else involved, it has to be the person, the light of God that puts that light inside of you, meaning God. Tangible God, and the God that none of us know nothing about, that smile on every one of us, provided you stay with your tangible God, which is in your own barrier. Therefore, you won't have to deal with somebody else's barrier. So if somebody put barrier in your path, what is that saying to you? It means that person actually put barrier in their own path. One of the key to life is for you yourself to know your barrier. It is a good character that is in alignment with the law of nature. To know your own barrier, to nurture your barrier, and to love it. That is a barrier. It's just another name for staying in your straight path. Like saying, I'm in my lane. The Lord puts me in my lane. The love of God puts me in my lane. Therefore, you won't have to deal with any type of barrier somebody will place near you or far away from you, meaning fear. Because another name for fear has to be barrier, because fear is the one thing that keeps people from moving forward. So we've talked about variety of fears. That's just the one that I can remember. Maybe if you remember, you can add to it, and then you handle it and make sure you walk through your fear. Handle your fear. Your fear is not there to keep you down. When you're in God, you will realize fear is actually, just like everything else, when we really look at it closely, it's the communication of energy. When we get it from that angle, then the way you relate with your fear would definitely be different. It will be a case of, all right, what is this next step in my life trying to teach me, trying to communicate with me? Now, not all the time that I will look pretty. When I speak from my experience, and I speak from the instruction that I know in my heart. Ifa Ela Ministry is guiding me to speak to every one of us about. Of course, when God say go, you go. So that's why I'm here, speaking from the light of God that gives me clarity about my world, my barrier, my space, and my lane. And the beauty of God that I feel all the time, it's not something that you have to not talk about. And that's why I'm speaking. on behalf of Ifa Ela Ministry. You have to look at your fear as your friend. Because whether we like it or not, fear is part of life, is a way of life. It's not something to run away from, and I wouldn't say it's particularly something to run to either. See, it is a must that you have to, know your fears, because your fears know you. What am I trying to say? You have to begin to have clarity that your fears are your friend. I'm sure elder people, elders that have been around here longer, I've heard it a couple of times that every time a person is about to take a next level in their lives, you will come across what you would term, of course it's fear because it's new territory, so you don't like it. It doesn't feel right or feel good. And I can say I've experienced that. I have experienced that kind of emotion, every now and then. So it is true. I find out that it's true. Every time you're about to take a next level in your life, you have to, even though it's your lane, it's your barrier, you still have to it's almost like you need a tool to move forward to that space in time. Therefore, seems like something you don't like fear. It comes in different way. It could be something you don't like, it could be fear. You could call it fear because mostly something we don't like, that we're not comfortable with, is fear. It doesn't feel good, we don't like it. We don't understand it, it's not clear. That's what fear is, in a simple term. So, whether we like it or not, we have to begin to have clarity that fear is our friend. That's the first way of approaching your fear or addressing your fear or looking at your fear. Then, through the light of God that is in you, you will begin to have a clear communication that your fear is trying to speak to you about, because everything is energy, is a communication. For me, how I was able to, now I can actually say so, but before today, before I was instructed to speak about fear today, it's something that it's not something that I will personally say I've sat down and think about. I just live my life the way that everlasting God instructs me to. So I have to say, I can't say that I'm going to fight my fear. No, it didn't work like that with me. So it's almost like automatically I never really regard my fear as a problem, which means without me knowing, I energetically think of my fear as my friend. So for those of us out there that we haven't developed that character, I am here to say to you, you can't walk through your fears. You can overcome your fear. Think of your fear as your friend that has come to communicate to you something you don't know. And it could come in any ways. Sometimes it comes like beautiful flowers. Sometimes it could come in a different way. It's still communication. So if you can receive flowers, how can you say you cannot receive a flower that doesn't look like a flower sometimes at first? You can see genuinely that fear is our friend. It's an energy that's come to communicate to us. So I'm just saying, start to look at your fears as a friend who obviously don't particularly know you and just trying to get to know you. Your fear is probably afraid of you too. So who is going to take the first step of having clarity that, oh, okay, I am afraid of this person, I'm afraid of this, I don't understand this energy, like, I'm afraid of, you know, you have to admit that first though. You can't pretend you're not afraid. It's not gonna work. You have to admit that. Even I knew that I was afraid, but for some reason, it was automatic for me. I can't explain it. I didn't see my fear as a problem. So it's like I just, like automatic, I just think of my fear like my friend. That is after I put childish things away. You understand? I used to be, it's like a raving lunatic, afraid, like can't move. You know? But after all of that, I just see my fear as my friend. I would walk through any dark, because dark to me is light. If you know about God, you will realize that everything is God energy. So if that's the case, what are you talking about when you're talking about dark? What is more beautiful than that which we don't know? And if it's a sign to us that we'll know about it on time, whether we like it or not, the light will shine forth and say, here I am. My point, for you to get to that space which is your own, not anybody else's, start to look at your fear as your friend. After you already admitted that you're afraid, of course, then start to say to yourself, your fear is your friend. So your fear will begin to actually communicate to you what the fear was there for. In your fear, do you think the hand of God is not in it, or protecting you against anything that you don't know or that you don't understand that you're afraid of? If you're of God, you will know that. That clarity will definitely enable your fear to begin to speak to you. The purpose that was there for, because everything is God energy, there's a purpose. When you start to communicate, there's no fear anymore, is there? When you begin to have communication with your fear, you will realize, my goodness, there's no fear, it's a communication. And the key thing is, we cannot say more than we're giving, really. You know, God is beautiful in every situation. The strong arms of God, the loving hands of God, Ifa Ela, is beautiful in everything. And remember as well, your fear is as real as something that you yourself is even capable to have made up, mentally or emotionally, or some people even use their fear, I don't know about that, but I think it's possible. They will use their fear as some sort of a good cover so that they will not do what God has assigned them to do. And whether you like it or not, that fear will move you to where you need to go at one point. So there's really no need for you to busy yourself too much about not taking care of your fears. Like, you have to find a positive way of conquering your fears. And the positive way really is to speaking to God about it. So what other positive way is there in this world other than having your own communication with God, anyhow that you know how to do it? Then with time, the way that you need to really communicate with your God that know your name will come to you. It doesn't mean you cannot seek advice for people that you didn't know something that you don't know. But above all, you have to develop your own relationship with God. And that will make your fear to become light in your life. For me, it is the light of God in my life that helped me to deal with my fear. These days, when I come to a position, a point where I have to deal with any sort of fear, because I don't even used to think of it as taking next level, but it's happened so many times now that I have to realize it's like a nature way of functioning with us to strengthen us, to build us up, inside and on the outside. So I'll come across this point. I get angry. Instead of me being afraid, I get mad, I get angry. I will wake up sometimes. I just want to scream. Very conscious of what I'm doing, but I need to get that communication out, because it's like, what is this? Maybe it's some sort of imagery or something, that mental imagery or something of that nature. So for me, instead of being afraid, that's whereabouts, I get mad. I'll just be going off, because I don't like that energy. So I have to get it out of the way. That's how I deal with it. So I don't see stuff as fear. But the greatness of God is, after I'm done with all of that, it could take me 1 minute. Another day it could take me 5 hours. Another day I'll just be off and on about it. That's because I'm trying to understand what that energy was telling me. People around me might say, why are you still talking about this? Why are you going, like, if I don't know, we don't want to hear about it, that. But for me, they don't get it. I'm dealing with that energy, and I don't, when you don't like something, you don't like something. That's okay, isn't it? So if I don't particularly like that energy, that I don't connect with it, that energy, I will go on and on. And that's how I'm speaking to my energy, my God. That's my way of saying, I don't like this energy. I don't understand it. What's the clarity in there? And God is so faithful. I always, by miracle, understand precisely what that energy is trying to explain to me. Of course, I don't have to agree with it. God is so beautiful like that. Because if it's not my lane, I will not agree with it. But in reality, whatever it is, that energy is communicating something. So, just because you approach or you have clarity that your fear is your friend, does not mean you have to agree with that friend, because it might not be part of your lane, that friend. So, obviously, even in Welcome and I, friends don't agree all the time. So, that's fine. Therefore, the next level in our relationship with whatever it is that we're afraid of will be that we should begin as people to begin to speak to one another in a manner that is not going to always bring forth things or imagery that we'll be afraid of. Because God that created heaven and earth and everything in it is definitely not in a business of making us afraid. I think we'll all genuinely agree with that. But the practices of people of the world, which includes every one of us, until you begin to take your journey of renewal, then you'll become heaven and earth. Then heaven will begin to speak to you, and you have clarity of people of the world, and above all, the clarity of your own boundary, of your own barrier. God does not, particularly in the business of God is not in the business of making us to be scared. You remember when we heard that Jesus said, let children come to me. Let's look at that from a Ifa Ela Ministry angle. say Jesus or God. One time somebody asked me, where is Jesus? I said to him, who is Jesus? And I said to that person that day, maybe like 3 years ago or something, I said to that person, you are Jesus. Jesus is in you. I tell you, this person is a potential pastor because we talk about God every time we see each other. He didn't argue with me. The look on his face was more of a relief. What am I saying? If there's light of God in you, which is what other people I think call Jesus, that means you're Jesus, isn't it? So we both agreed that day that he is Jesus. So, and where am I going with that? Let's say Jesus is God. And he says, let children come to me. We are all children in the presence of God. And for God to say, let children come to me, there's no fear there. You see that God is not in the business of putting fear in a person's way. But somehow, we people of the world, we have a way of using fear to build each other up. But for somebody who is not in God, because God is in you already, don't even doubt that. Guaranteed. Now, the different story is, if you're not in God that is in you, then that's another issue that you first of all need to deal with. And that's where renewal comes in. So, God allows us to somewhat teach one another and elevate one another. Sometimes that will look like a fear. But my point is, when you're in God, you will begin to understand the purpose of that energy in your life. You know? But it's energy communicating. So don't look at your fear as something that you have to, like you cannot move, you cannot speak, you cannot live your life. Yeah, that you cannot live your life. Begin today to approach your fear with communication of light as it is given to you. Don't be afraid to conquer your fears. On that note, as we always do in Ifa Ela Ministry, the most important people in our lives is our ancestors. And because of our ancestors, we also have become the most important people in our world. I'm using this minute to honor all our ancestors, to celebrate all our ancestors, and celebrate all the energy, the generations of ancestors that we are always going to be. When we think ancestors, we have to think tangible God. That makes each and every one of us, Ifa Ela family, tangible God. Ibadah of the day. We give honor to life in every way, all around, straight part, inside and on the outside. We give honor to life that is lifting us up, that is protecting us against all odds, that is giving us clarity today that our fears are our friend. It's all communication of energy. After you've admitted you have fear of something, know that fear what it is and begin to communicate the light of God upon your fears so that you can move forward to your next level at every space you're in your life. Ifa Ela Ministry love you, and don't forget, the greatest love of all is the love that you have for yourself. Instruction of the week. Fear comes in variety of ways. Fear of I don't have confidence to do something or to or fear of I don't even know what I am afraid of. Whatever it is that you're afraid of, whether you know what you're afraid of or not, it is time that you make time out to do your praise, meditate, speak to your fear. Speak to your fear. Just begin to speak to your fear, so that your fear can explain what that energy, that communication is about. So your fear, remember, is an energy, is a communication. So begin to speak to your fear. The reality with fear is that fear is here to stay, whether you like it or not. Fear is a way of life. Now, you don't see your fear as fear anymore. You don't see your fear as something that has come to stop you from living your life. Whether you like it or not, fear is your teacher. So, if you look at fear from that aspect of things as your teacher, definitely your fear has come to help you to move from where you are to your next level. What is clear, however, it is almost impossible for some people to, personally I think it's kind of impossible for anyone to genuinely be able to discover what their fears is and how they handle it properly. You can only, from my own experience, you can only genuinely conquer your fears with the light of God that is in you, that you are. If there's any other way for a person to deal with their fear, I think there's several ways maybe for some people, because with phobia of something, that's different. You can systematically, if you like, deal with that. Say you're somebody who is afraid of chicken or something. When you eat chicken, obviously you stop being afraid of chicken. But some fears are a bit more, believe it or not, rooted than that. Yeah, see, fear, I'm not saying to you that fear is some light, but the light of God will make it light, will make your fear become light in your life. And that's what I'm saying. For that kind of fear, that kind of deep-rooted, you really, really have to communicate to God that is in you, that you are. And some of us have not started on that journey of knowing with clarity there's God in you. And it's the light of God in you. So begin to speak to the light of God through the light of God that is in you. Like, speak from your heart. If you need to break down together, if you need to stand up together, whatever it is you need to do, just speak, shout, scream if you must. You can hit the wall, but don't hurt your hands and don't hit anyone. That would be violent. But you have to let anger out if that's what you need to do to face your fear. But most of all, speak from your heart, the light of God that is in you, that you are. And you will find that fear is a part of life. And each time fear comes, you say, what are we here to do today? If it's something that is of God, it's already done. If it's something that is not of God, you just say, that is not in my lane. Thank you very much. That's it, really. Therefore, to strengthen your capacity to be able to function with every energy around you, doesn't matter what color or what variety they come. Start your renewal journey today. Start your renewal journey today. Review, rewind your ways and review your ways. And then you renew and you stay reformed. And then the light of God in you will begin to shine forth, will begin to shine through. And all your fears will begin to communicate energy of light unto you. Energy of life that knows your name, that loves you without compromise. Alafia to all. We have clarity that Ifa Ela will keep us beyond next week. And I keep all my Alafia to myself, now and forever.